another one that nobody notices when it changes is cancer, and how like 50 years ago there are so many stories of like a veterinary doctor or something would see like an animal sick with this thing and be like, whoa, cancer, never seen that in an animal before, and now it's just like normal. And then there are stories like 80 years ago or something, like early 1990s where, or not 1990s, early 1900s, where the like so many records of doctors being like calling the entire university campus to come see this case of lung cancer because the students would probably never see it again. And nobody notices that this weird unnatural thing is now everywhere and everybody thinks it's normal. Like it was not a thing. And it's not a matter of like age, like people are living longer and now it's a thing or something. It's just it wasn't around. It didn't exist. And then now it exists and everybody thinks it's normal. It's just like phones, it's just like everything else. It like shows up. Or how 15 years ago there was like, you know, a movie had a token fat guy in it because it was pretty rare to be large. And now it's really common and nobody really notices that. It used to not be like this 15 years ago. So like we have all these different cases of different things that once were not the case and in a very short time became the case. And nobody has batted an eye. And it's the same thing with like phases, flip, change, nobody notices. It's the same with upsurges in like spirituality of like, or just people becoming more aware. And we've talked about it with like some cases around us where somebody, like if somebody has no idea what's going on, they have no idea that they have no idea what's going on. So when they do get better, make even massive leaps of improvement, they still don't really know what's going on, so they don't know that this has occurred. So this kind of transformation is happening all the time, and nobody's really noticing it. So in like somebody could be alive today who's going to live to be 200 years old, and nobody is going to notice it because by the time they're 200 years old, there will be people who have lived to 150, 160, etc., probably 200 years old as well.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like expected by then, and nobody will have noticed that when this person was a kid, this was not expected.
I mean, there are certain things, you know, like the ones you mentioned here, definitely people don't notice those. As for like the life expectancy, that's more obvious.
Yeah, it's more like
people know that, and like it's increasing or whatever. But I was gonna say, like, if what the Dalai Lama said with, if one generation of like children started meditating every day, then we'd have world peace.
And a single generation.
And I was just thinking, if that happened, nobody would notice that that's why it happened, or that's happening. You know, yeah.
It like, you know, mindfulness was not a word in the 1920s, and now you can't go down the street and say mindfulness to somebody in the English language and have them not understand or at least have a general idea what mindfulness is.
Yeah.
If you told somebody that in the 1910s, they'd be like, "Stop making up words. It doesn't mean anything." Like, it just. Yeah, things have changed so fast and nobody notices. The concept of romance, it's super new. Nobody noticed it when it was happening. Like all these things are happening. Like internet is now just a part of everybody's regular life. Nobody knows how to use it yet, but nobody has noticed that this thing is ridiculous. It is so insane and ridiculous, and nobody really notices that it's just like it's there now. They're in more unity among humans on Earth than ever with that one contextual thing alone, let alone everything else that exists. Mm-hmm. And everybody thinks like, oh, these are dark times or something. It's like, what? What? These are like the craziest, most awesome times that have ever existed, and like on human record that we know of, and nobody's noticing. Because world peace could happen tomorrow and it could last like 3 weeks, and then somebody would go, I feel like a month ago there was a different vibe when walking down the street.
They'd be like, it was the fall of something.
Yeah, they're like November.
Frame it as this negative thing, the 3 weeks of something that was lost.
This year, from November to June, was when the world transformed and world peace happened. And it's like 3 years later when somebody realizes that's the thing that happened. Yeah, even like we've been to things like Vipassana, but even if you go to like a normal volunteer camp or like some of the old temples and things like that, there's a totally different atmosphere there. And it's the same way if you go into a sports stadium where everyone's like super intense and competing and like cheering and all this other stuff. Totally different vibe than something else. But just imagine the whole world being in that state of like whether it's a rock concert, sports stadium, gathering of just even office spaces versus
just
something else.
any kind of area. Scenario, state, whatever.
Mm-hmm. So just like picture that as what the base state of the world is like. Again, like the collective unity of the world being at that level. The collective unity of the level can be in a state where everybody is so happy and not happy in like that. Even saying happy probably just confuses a lot of people because there's so many variations of that word. But like the base level of people is when you're, say, leaving a building, you see somebody like on a bike over here and like a couple people driving and there's somebody in a shop or whatever, and that they have all volunteered to be there and have chosen to be there and are wanting to be there and are as they're going past you or whatever, they're completely on your side as if you're going to the same place and whatever it is. Like that vibe and atmosphere is something that we can, like, you can find it on at like sacred sites, old temples, meditation halls, whatever it is. Like that atmosphere is there and it's very real and it's in these tiny niche pockets or whatever. But those are the things that are ballooning up. And why a word like mindfulness or even just mental health being a thing at all is so new, except for in these tiny pockets that have always been there. But they're spreading and they're popping up and they're moving around and people are going to them and going back into the world and spreading it a little more over and over again. And nobody's going to notice the shift between the way it is now, where you go down the street and there are people who are, stressed out about something, whatever it is, and that's going to change into that person is glad to be there and wants to be there. They might be having a hard time, but they know that the whole world is around them to help them as well, and we're all in it together. And that vibe is just going to change and be that way, and then everything is going to morph and balloon out from that, and it's going to express itself as like crazy things that humans are now capable of, like that. Right now, you can't even fathom that humans can be capable of it, and we will be, and nobody's going to notice that change. It's really cool. And it happens all the time. It's not like something that's just future related. It's like, it happens day to day. Just the word mindfulness existing or anything like that. Like, it happens all the time.
Well, even saying it, happens, it's like a timeless happening. Anyway,
yeah.
Like it's not like it's going to happen tomorrow. It's like
it's a continuous consistency.
Yes.
Yeah. Always on the move, morphing and changing. Yeah. That's
what I thought you were going to say about the different, like, if imagine the whole world as a rock concert, or imagine the whole world as this or that, or whatever. It's like that's kind of helping to define what we mean by a paradigm. Like, if the whole world was in the rock concert, you don't think, you have to be like a philosopher or something to think what is a different world.
Yeah,
this is the world. Because you're in this loud world, and it's like, this is normal. This is what the world is. And then if that just kind of, that's where I thought you were gonna go, is just defining like what it would be like to, but the world is so filled with variety that we don't have only one world. Everyone is in their own world, and therefore, we can actually have change.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah. The craziest, coolest, most awesome things and the biggest changes always come out of, there's like a bunch of people from a bunch of the different worlds within this human experience that we have that all happen to be in kind of like the same spot, and there's just like they interact in this weird way of coming together that none of them could have predicted or expected. And the whole like 2 heads is better than one, or 3 heads is better than whatever. It's just like you have a few people together that for some reason their ideas just mix in this really unique way, and it does something that it's just like, how this could not have happened any other way. And that's where all the magic of the worlds comes from. It's just like something happened, all these worlds came together, just like a little pop happened. It's like bloop, and yeah,
we might be foreshadowing our stories, FYI.
Oops.
Oops.
Oops. Oops.